Global Namaste, a beautiful morning to each and every one of you. Our humble thanks to everyone for being here with us at our Knowledge Cafe, the webinar series. And today, we are all extremely fortunate to have Mumbai's first mind map trainer, internationally recognized author, and the one who rules the world with his mind. We're going to talk about invisible selling, the brand new strategies. It's absolutely an honor for all of us to welcome with a global namaste and with folded hands, our Mr. Dharmendra Rai. A very good morning to you, sir. It's absolutely a pleasure, and we're honored to have your presence. My dear lovely friends, India Business Group Chamber of Commerce always believes in giving either the startups or anyone who is advancing with their endeavors to give them international arena, open the doors so that their visions can be fulfilled. And of course, as our business guru, well, our Honorary Consul General of the Republic of Mali, author of several books. So it's 4+ because 3 books in the pipeline. And of course, we all know of IPO topping the chart with Nazara Technologies. Maybe please welcome the chairman who already and always mentions, he's mentioned it in his book, and he always says that you stay in your mind. Maybe please welcome our very dynamic business guru, Mr. Vikash Mitra. A very good morning to you, dear sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I just elaborate what she meant about in my mind. When she asked me, where do you stay? It was not exactly what she just said. I replied that I stay in my mind. To me, it doesn't matter where I am. That's where I stay and that's where I live 24 hours. And to add to this, let me tell you that I'm enjoying my journey a lot. IBG keeps me on my toes, IBG and its team, and people like Simran, of course. And then I'm in, and then I'm enjoying my book journey. I'm also a radio jockey. I love that, though it's been suspended for almost 2 years. And there are many things which an average businessman doesn't attempt or try to do. So thank you for informing the people about me. I think we should move on with Dharmendra, not to get stuck to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Vikash. But my life changed after I heard that sentence. My dear lovely friends, we are so blessed at this point of time when we all need, to refresh and to rejuvenate. India Business Group Chamber of Commerce does exactly that. May we please welcome a very beautiful, dynamic CEO who makes sure that we all excel in our endeavors. Our lovely lady, Miss Priya Pansare, and request her to kindly have the audio visual of India Business Group Chamber of Commerce as well.
Good morning, IBG. Hi, Simran. Before playing the video, I would like to tell everyone over here that we have a separate vertical in IBG called as Learning and Development. And today, the webinar series is along on the same side. Dharmendra, I would also like to tell you that we have loads of life coaches over here, lot of training companies who are dealing with the kind of stuff that you're doing. So help your, I hope that your expertise help, in some or the other way with our team over here. So thank you. Simran, sorry, Girish, you can play the video now.
Ladies and gentlemen, India Business Group Chamber of Commerce is a modern chamber of commerce focused on mentoring and supporting Indian businesses to help them grow globally. India Business Group has a network of over 50,000 associations with over 1,000 active members. India Business Group organizes sector-specific events for their members pertaining to sectors like real estate, film and entertainment, IT sector, finance, banking, healthcare, tourism, legal, HR, manufacturing, retail. We invite Consul General and Trade Commissioners to explore trade opportunities between countries.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Priya Pansari, for the audio, visual, and the clarity. For all those who joined us, our lovely guests who joined us, along with the members of India Business Group Chamber of Commerce. And now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear lovely friends, your life is going to change forever, because this complete 50-minute span is going to take you into a different world altogether. It's time for us to welcome Mr. Dharmendra Rai, the pioneer of behavioral economics in India. He trains this under his own brand, Invisible Selling. He also trains on the other subjects like mind mapping. He's trained executives of several Fortune 500 companies like Amazon, Google, LinkedIn, Unilever, Nestle, Johnson & Johnson, PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, American Express, and over 1,000 startups. Now, if we search on Google for Mr. Dharmendra Rai, then you're going to have more than 2 million search results. And his TEDx talks with 5 billion views is still on the rise. Well, my dear lovely friends, right from his appearance on prominent media like Forbes, Times of India, Hindustan Times, Google News, Z Business, Midday Channel V, and of course, towards the international arena, let me tell you, he is also an international best-selling author, and how to avail his books and read them and understand them for free is what we're also going to learn in this webinar. Besides this, my dear lovely friends, as I said, your life is going to change forever. So I want you to completely be with that relaxed mind, and maybe all join together to welcome Mr. Dharmendra Rai, who's here to tell us about the most important aspect of life at this point of time, invisible selling. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Great. So let me just talk a little about invisible selling, what it is, what's the objective of invisible selling. And before that, just two simple rules. One is, I request you to look at this webinar with two major objectives, at the exclusion of everything else. And those two objectives are, one is try to understand the strategy or strategies. If we have time for more than one, we will do more than one. That's Simran is my boss as far as time management is concerned. So the minute she decides to kick me out, I'm out. So maybe we'll have time for one, or maybe we'll extend to two. And these concepts are not easy to understand, not because they're cognitively difficult to understand. It's not that it's very complicated, because it's got too much data or something, but it's complicated because it's totally shocking and counterintuitive. You can't believe that your brain actually works that way, because of which there is resistance to accept and learn, right? You have to give up some of your beliefs that you may have harbored for decades in order to understand these strategies. And that's why it's difficult, not otherwise. So focus on just understanding the strategies. We're going to have a Q&A after every strategy. So that will help you to sharpen your understanding of the strategies. As we're going along, if you think, okay, this is good, I think I've got the gist of it, then I want you to think about how you can implement this strategy in your business. And if you have any queries about that, we can take it up in the Q&A. So that's it. Just focus on understanding strategy. If you are consuming your entire time in this webinar trying to understand the strategy, that's a very good investment of your time. If you think you're getting the hang of it, start thinking how you can implement it, and then bounce off your ideas with me so that I can tell you whether you understood the strategy enough and that strategy is safe for you. Because if you misimplement these strategies, they can be disastrous. So what do I not want you to do? I don't want you to be skeptical for the next 1 hour. Skepticism is very important for rational thinking, for scientific thinking, for business thinking. At the same time, the human brain can think of only one thing at one time. So if you're trying to think about understanding the concept, which itself is very, very difficult to do, and you're also thinking about how you feel skeptical about it, it's going to be a clash and you're just going to waste your precious time. So if you have skepticism please think about it later. You can do all the Google searches you want later to find out whether your skepticism was worth it or not. And then you can send me queries later about that. But right now, just focus on understanding the concepts. The other thing is, it would be great if you can keep a pen and paper with you. There are going to be lots of quizzes. And I suggest that you take these quizzes very, very seriously. The latest research in learning and development has proved that quizzes, answering quizzes, is one of the best ways to learn a subject and one of the best ways to retain the knowledge about a subject. And the second part is, I'm not making this up, you learn more if you get the answer wrong. I know that sounds like a really cheesy motivational statement, but it is not a motivational statement, or it's a motivational statement. It is based on rational and high quality research. So it's very, very important that you take part in the quizzes and you feel good when you get the answers wrong, because that means that you're going to learn much more than people who are passive observers. So these two rules, just focus on understanding the concept or how to implement it, and participate in the quizzes. In plenty of times, we will be requesting you to send in your answers, and we might read out your answers on screen. And sometimes we don't have time. So Simran, you're in the hot seat. I'm just going to ask your view on a particular question that I asked. So again, it may be very uncomfortable, but I have no option. If we have a paucity of time and I'm not getting answers quickly, I'll just ask you what's in your mind. Okay, so the best way to introduce the concept is by asking you questions itself. So everybody thinks they understand other human beings, they understand themselves because they've lived with themselves their entire lives. They've lived with people, they've been surrounded by people, their families, friends, teachers, business associates throughout their lives. So they think, oh, what are these stupid questions for? The answers are obvious. So am I just wasting my time with this webinar? Well, you'll be shocked when you hear the answers. So I'm going to give you two questions now. The first question is, what do a large number of people do that's surprising after shaking hands with other people? Okay, I'm going to repeat my question, and then I'm going to give you 10 seconds to jot down your answer. Don't send in your answers right now. We'll get to the answers section after we complete the questions section. So I'm repeating the question for the last time. What unexpected thing do a large number of people do immediately after shaking hands with other people? Okay, now this is a question which is aimed to test your intuition. It's not aimed to test your knowledge. So if you've heard this before, if you know the answer, then don't participate in this quiz. If you don't know it, you've got to think what you feel the answer is based on your intuition and experience. Okay, so go ahead, jot down this answer. We'll give you 10 seconds, which should get over very fast. Please jot down your answer. Second question coming right now. Okay, here's the second question. If you've read Freakonomics and really read it well, then you'll know the answer to this, in which case you're disqualified. You're already up the curve then. The crime rate in the US in 1995 was absolutely appalling. Eminent criminologists, senior people in law enforcement, the top politicians of the US all expected the crime situation to become much worse as time went on. But a surprising thing happened. It just went in the other direction. So from 1995, the crime rate was expected to increase, but it actually decreased over the next 5 years, from 1995 to 2000, till in the year 2000, it touched 45-year low. Okay. So just to sum up the question, or to sum up the details before asking the question. From 1995 onwards, the crime rate was expected to increase in the US. It actually decreased substantially. It shocked everybody because it actually reached a 45-year low or 35-year low in the year 2000. So in 10 seconds, you can jot down how many answers you think to this. Maybe you'll think of 2 or 3 answers, 2 or 3 reasons as to why you felt this drop in crime rate happened. Your 10 seconds starts now. Okay, time up. Can we have a couple of answers? Can you jot down in the chat section a couple of answers for the first question? What do a large number of people do after shaking hands? And some of you are thinking, we're going all over the place. Don't worry, the focus is going to be on business. This is just an eye-opener. Okay, so there's an answer from Kunal. He says that they put their hands in their pockets. Okay. I don't think they do that in COVID time. So that's a nice answer, but that's not the right answer. Okay. Think of introducing themselves. Wipe their hands. That's again probably post November 2019 only. So great. I'm very happy with your participation, and I'm very happy that all your answers that I see at least are wrong. Right? You should be very happy that the answers are wrong, because if the answers were so simple to answer, the questions were so simple to answer, this would be a useless seminar. Okay, so the thing they do, you may not even have noticed this in yourself because it happens subconsciously. Credible research says that most people smell their hands after shaking hands. Absolute shocker. We probably did not notice that within ourselves, or maybe we don't do it, but a large number of other people do it, and we haven't really noticed it. I'm sure most of us have not. But it's got to do with evolutionary psychology. When we were apes, we used to smell our palms after touching somebody, and that would help us, or we thought it would help us to understand how healthy is this person. Do I want to be his friend or business associate? So maybe that has no relevance today, but the human brain is a creature of habit. So that habit has stayed with us for millions of years. So this was just an example to show you how totally counterintuitive the working of your brain is, and how you can understand how the brain actually works and use it for business. Okay, so the next question I'm sure must have pleased the serious academic types, or the serious political minded types, or law minded types among you. So what do you think is the answer to the second question? And if you have read Freakonomics, you're not allowed to answer this question. So can we have some answers? Jot it down. Okay, employment opportunities increase. May be correct, but according to one of the best economists in the world, that's Stephen Levitt. He wrote the book along with a gentleman called Steve Dubner. According to him, that wasn't the main reason. Lots of subsidy increased. Okay, that's again a very good answer. At the same time, it's not true. Strict immigration law. I'm not too sure. I wish Deepesh was here. I don't think there was any strict immigration law. 1995 was maybe Obama time or Clinton time. It wasn't Trump time, so there was no problem with immigration at that time. Okay, so again, I'm very, very happy you participated in large numbers. I see close to 40 answers there. for both the questions. So that's absolutely fantastic. Now, the real reason, according to Stephen Levitt, who is the chief economist who's written the book, who's the main writer of the book, Freakonomics, and he is a really big guy. He's consulted by the president of the US, he's consulted by the CIA because his insights into economics are so useful and so unconventional. He did an analysis and went back about 20 years. And he noticed that in the year 1973, abortion became legalized in the US. Okay, so about 20 years ago, in 1973, abortion became legalized. It was illegal before that in the US. That ensured that unwanted children were not born. Now, without dwelling about the tragic part and the sentimentality part, the problem is that unwanted children tend not to be looked after, obviously, because of which they have a poor education, because of which they have lots of problems in getting an income and getting a job or starting a business. Because of that, they turn to crime. But since 1973, plenty of unwanted children were not born there. The pregnancies were terminated. And that, according to Stephen Levitt, is the main reason why there was such a drop in the crime rate from 1995 to 2000. Until he brought it out, obviously, people were looking out for conventional answers like, oh, the policing has become better and people are more educated and the rate of employment has gone up. None of these seem to be a satisfactory answer because many of these things had happened in the past and we hadn't seen such a huge decline in crime rates. Okay, so I just wanted to start with these two questions because this just shows the inadequacy of conventional thinking. It shows the inadequacy of intuition. Intuition is very useful. In plenty of instances, it's right, but in plenty of instances, it can also be wrong. So when you're taking important decisions, maybe you want to look at these strategies. Maybe you want to take more time and analyze the situation and not depend too much on your intuition. Because if a decision is very critical, then you can have a huge loss if you just depend on your intuition. So let me quickly give you a sharper definition of invisible selling before we get on to a first strategy, which can help you drastically increase your profits, increase your influence, get a promotion, and do what you want to do in a better way. Invisible selling is the science of influence or persuasion. Now, we've all heard of lots of books on influence and persuasion. One of the biggest names was Dale Carnegie. He wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People almost 100 years ago. Dale Carnegie got plenty of things right. Plenty of things that he wrote in his book have been tried and tested and backed by the latest research, but most other books on influence by other authors have not stood the test of time, have not stood the test of credible research. So invisible selling is a bunch of strategies that has been derived from extremely credible research in the field of behavioral economics, traditional psychology, social psychology, cognitive psychology, and just about any other discipline which is backed by prominent people and prominent institutions. And it's not a general thing because there are plenty of authors in this world. There are plenty of Nobel laureates in the world. For example, in behavioral economics, 3 people have won a Nobel Prize. I absolutely fail to understand how 3 people can win a Nobel Prize for the same subject, not in the same year. So the first person to win a Nobel Prize in behavioral economics was Daniel Kahneman. The second person to win a Nobel Prize in behavioral economics was Richard Thaler. And the third was our very own Abhijit Banerjee. Now, Richard Thaler and Abhijit Banerjee may be one of the most brilliant people in the world. At the same time, I don't understand what they have contributed to behavioral economics beyond what Daniel Kahneman has contributed. And you look at all these books, you read all these books, you listen to all the videos of these people, they talk about the subjects in a very, very overflowing way. It's not focused towards business. So then if something is not focused, you tend to just switch off after some time. So invisible selling is purely focused on business, which doesn't mean that you can use it only for business. You can use it anywhere. But I'm going to look at it from a business point of view. I'm going to give you business examples because that is something that makes it simpler for you to understand these concepts. And I like to focus on the business segment because I think that's where plenty of people are really eager to do better. So before I move on, we can take a couple of questions if people have about things that we have spoken about so far. And then we can go into the next quiz. Okay, and let me just look at the chat.
Yes, we don't have any add-ons, sir.
Okay. Fine. So Simran, do you have any questions?
No, I'm excited, to understand the strategies.
Okay, fine. Again, one of the best ways to understand the strategy is again through a quiz. And this time, there are going to be 4 questions. So be ready. What do you think is the main purpose of advertising? If you can put it in under 2 words in the next 10 seconds. So I'll repeat the question. What do you think is the main purpose of advertising? Okay. We'll come back to the answers later on. I'm going to ask you 3 more questions. Between words that start with K, the letter K, as in Kingston or Kanpur, between words that start with the letter K and words which have the letter K in the 3rd place, on which side do you think there are a greater number of words in the English dictionary? So I'll summarize that. If you were to total up all the words in the English language which start with K, and if you were to total up all the words in the English language which have K in the 3rd place, which group of words have a larger number or are in a larger quantity? Again, if you know the answer, then please sit back and enjoy the fun. But if you don't know the answer, what does the intuition say? Okay, we're on to question number 3 now. Question number 3 is slightly long, but it's very relevant here. I deliberately wanted to give you something topical, so here it is. If you have read about this, then you are eligible for this question as well. Okay, so this is a different question compared to the previous questions. You can use your intuition or you can use your memory, but please don't Google the answer. What are the official figures for the total number of deaths? What is the official figure for the total number of deaths due to COVID? The latest figures. Okay, please write down in 10 seconds what you think is the total number of deaths across the world because of COVID, official number, the latest official number. Okay. And then related to this question, or I've just had a change of mind here. I'll ask you that question when I answer this question. So this part is not yet over. Let me go on to the 4th question. you got to answer either yes or no, right? There's no third answer. You just got to answer yes or no. You can't ask me any questions. So if you have any assumptions, just answer those assumptions yourself. Just make whatever assumptions you need to make. Assume you are a parent. You have a 10-year-old son or daughter. Your neighbor has a 10-year-old son or daughter. Your neighbor invites your kid to their house. Assume you have two neighbors and both of them have a kid of the same age in their houses. Both of them invite your kid over for a nice time with his kid, just to play in the garden or something. Now you know for sure that one of them has a gun. Okay, it's a licensed firearm. For whatever reason, he's got a licensed firearm. But you know for sure that, let's say, neighbor A has a gun in their house. And you know for sure that neighbor B does not have a gun in his house, but neighbor B has a swimming pool. Okay? And forget the yes or no answer. I'll have to change the format if I think of a better question. Now, you can send your kid only to one house, the house with the gun or the house with the pool. So your answer has to be either gun or pool. Which one would you choose? Your 10 seconds start now. Okay, great. So let's go back. The first question was, what's the major reason for advertising? So let me look at the answers. Influence, spread awareness, get visibility, increase top line. All these are very logical answers. But the major reason for advertising has three objectives. You can use advertising for reminding, informing, or persuading. But mostly advertising is used for reminding. The more number of times a piece of data is flashed to your brain, the greater the chances that that piece of data enters your long-term memory. Now, you think you're a rational human being. Everybody thinks that they are rational human beings. And before making a purchase, whether it's a medium-sized purchase or a large purchase, whether you're purchasing a car for 20 lakhs or whether you're buying a house for 50 crores, people think, oh, obviously I'm smart. I've made a rational choice. I've gone through all options and this is probably the best car or probably the best car in terms of the facilities that I wanted in this car. And this is probably the best house, looking at rational things that the house can offer me, like luxury and amenities and all that. But that is not the real reason why you purchased that car or that house. The reason you purchased that house or that car is because that brand was in your mind at the time of you buying that product. You think you've done a lot of research and looked at all the brands in the market and arrived at the brand that makes the most sense to you. But the point is, nobody knows all the brands in the market and nobody knows all the value that you can get from each of those brands. You need a supercomputer if you want to compute that, and nobody's got a supercomputer between his ears. So if you're going to buy a car, the chances are very high that you're going to buy the car that you think about, and that's top of your mind. And there'll just be 2 or 3 brands which will be on top of your mind. And one of the ways that they would have got into your mind and they would have been the first brand that you would recall is because they've used expensive or cheap advertising, but they managed to keep on flashing that brand name again and again and again. So you've thought of that. Because you've thought of it, your brain automatically makes a totally illogical connection that since I know about this brand, since this is top of my mind, it is the best, the most sensible purchase for me. Totally logical, but that's how the human brain works. And this is a strategy called the availability heuristic. It's a complicated name. All it means is that what is on top of your mind is something that you're most likely to buy, even though that may not be the cheapest, it may not be the most optimal, it may be the most useless product, it may be the most expensive product, but the chances are just because it's top of your mind, you will buy it. And I'm going to give you some examples when we go through this, when you finish this quiz. Okay, so the second question was, are there more number of words starting with K, or are there more number of words which have K in the third place? Okay, Simran, why don't we get your answer, just to liven things up a bit, because it's good to get some interaction.
So for me, it's the first initial with K.
Yes,
is my presumption. I couldn't even think of a word, where it's the third alphabet, but I didn't bother. I said, maybe, you're just asking me. So I felt my heart said, no, it's K, the first initial for me.
Okay, I just thought of lake. Even I never thought of this. I just thought of the word lake now, which has K in third place. So most people think that that is the right answer. Why? Because that's what's available to you. What's available to you is words starting with K. It's very difficult for you to think of words which have K in the third place. Like I just thought of one so far, because I'm talking to you, I can't even concentrate on this to a great extent and think of more words related to K because I'm speaking to you now. That's how difficult it is to think of words which have K in third place, because that is the way we organize information. Right? We have dictionaries which say, okay, these are the words starting with A, these are the words starting with B, C, and so on. We don't have dictionaries which say, these are words which start with K, and these are words which have K in the second place, and these are words that have K in the third place. We don't have that. And hence, it's very difficult for us to think of words starting with K. And that's why if we could actually do betting in India, and US betting is legal. If we actually took some bets here, IBG would, again, after Nazara Technologies, this would be the next unicorn. We would have minted money. Okay, so it's probably very bad news for Ekta Kapoor, but the number of words that start with K are much, much lesser than the words which have K in the third place.
Wow.
Okay, now for the topical, the top of the mind issue that people have is COVID deaths. Okay, so let me see how aware and whether IBG members are reading the newspapers regularly. Okay, they seem to be. I'm very surprised. We've got quite a few correct answers. Okay, according to the Wikipedia, I went to the Wikipedia site yesterday and trying to find out what is the total number of deaths for COVID worldwide. According to them, it's 3.5 million. Okay. Now, since this is a longish kind of question, I'm going to again direct my question to Simran. You got an estimate, or you got the official number, 3.5 million. Now, some of you are thinking this is the official number. What if it's fake news? Well, I'll address that part separately, but I will address it. So, Simran, 3.5 million is the death toll worldwide of COVID in 19 months. Assuming that the virus was first cited in November 2019. So in 19 months, you had 3.5 million deaths. Since the 2001 9/11 terror attacks, just take a guess. From 9/11 till September or till the end of 2018, guess the number of deaths per year because of air pollution. Okay, so I'll quickly repeat my question. COVID, total overall deaths as of yesterday, 3.5 million, that's 35 lakhs. Guess the number of people that have died per year because of air pollution since September 11, 2001 till 2018. That's 17 years. I can't hear you, Simran.
Yeah, I think this is,
You made the wrong answer. It's perfectly fine.
Okay.
You're not a statistician. You're
Okay.
not
Yeah.
so this,
So I'm really pathetic with this. So I don't think I should even give a figure. I would rather, because I'm seeing all the different figures. But with this figure, I wouldn't like to take a risk because I'm not the one who reads papers or does research on death, but I do it on live people. So I would like to excuse myself for this. And I don't even think that I want to even think about it somehow. I'm so closed with my mind. So you need to explain me that as well. Why am I closed with my mind?
but then you'll be shocked. Then if people who are in the medical industry or the top doctors of the world would get this wrong. Okay, anyway, let me see if we have some latest answers.
So many of them, right from 1 million to 4 million to 15 million. We have all the answers. So I didn't want to take a guess too or help from them.
Right. I think some people have are gaming the system now. They're purposely giving high estimates. But if you were to ask, right, next time you go to a party, just ask 5 or 6 friends of yours. The most probable answer they will give you will be lesser than 3.5 million, right? Because COVID is on everybody's minds. We're seeing so many images of COVID. We're seeing so many videos of COVID, and we hardly see anything on the front page or in any of the pages which says, oh, a few million people have died because of air pollution. I mean, have you, okay, so at least this should be easy for you to answer.
Sure.
Have you seen even one media coverage which talks about death because of air pollution?
Not at all. Not at all. This I can for sure vouch. Yeah.
So that's not available to your mind. What's available to your mind is COVID. In 19 months, COVID has killed 3.5 million people. It is a human tragedy, no doubt about it, but the tragedy because of air pollution is worse. Because this 3.5 million is in 9 months, whereas air pollution for the last, say, 17 years between 9/11 till 2018 has killed double the number per year. That's 7 million people per year. Okay. So that's how crazy it is. That's how much the gap between the reality and our intuitions are, just because of this concept called the availability heuristic. It's just that plenty of newspapers don't think it's glamorous to show you deaths because of air pollution in the front page of the newspaper or on television channels. That we don't think about. So do we need to think about COVID? Of course we do. But there's a much bigger killer, and that's not recent, that's been around for several decades. And these are the figures that are there. And I'm going to tell you the source of the figures. Okay, I just have there's somebody at my door. I'll just be back in 10 seconds. Till then, I just ponder about what I've said. I'll be back in 5 seconds. And people who have not given their answer for gun versus swimming pool, this is your chance to fill in your answer right now, before I'm back.
Sure. So I think why we all gonna, take on this and give it a thought, with if you have a kid and a similar around 10-year-old and a similar neighbors, so where would you like to send your kid, the one with the gun or one with the swimming pool? It's pretty much interesting. But Vikasa, I must tell you this as well, that for the third question, I said I didn't really want to use my brains to analyze. So thank you. Wow.
What a coincidence. This is from IBG.
This is for us, IBG. Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's
great timing. Thank you. Okay.
Does this change the answer? I mean, you're more happy than you were before you left 10 seconds back? Does this change the answer?
Sorry.
Does it change the answer? Is your mind very happy now? Does any of the answers change?
No, it's just that this was the 7 million part was, I'm sure, something very, very shocking for plenty of people, and
It is.
they would now question plenty of important decisions they've made, and you should be asking yourself, did I make it based on rationale and calculation analysis, or did I just jump at something just because it appeared to be the best, because I had improper information? So that's again an example of the availability heuristic. And the fourth one. So let's go to the gun versus pool one. It's a very interesting answer. No need to reason. Go on where you love. That is exactly the kind of irrational decisions you've got to avoid. You can't. Blind love could lead you to a terrible place. So if for you love is blind, I would love to borrow some money from you. Okay, so again, the answer is pools are much more dangerous than guns. Like plenty of children have died in pools versus being shot at by guns. But if a child is shot by a gun, it becomes front page news. If a person dies in a swimming pool, if a child dies in a swimming pool, it just doesn't make front page news, and just doesn't appear that gory, right? You imagine a dead body in a pool, which is terrible to think about, but then compare that to a child who's been shot at by a gun with blood splattered all over the place. That's a much more terrible sight, and that's what the media plays on. They attack the emotional center of your brain, or the amygdala, because of which they put it out there, because of which it stays in your mind, and you think a house with a gun is much more dangerous than a house with a pool. And the statistics are totally different. So you're much safer off sending your kid to the neighbor who has a gun, provided he's a responsible guy, versus that to send your kid to a neighbor who is a responsible guy and who has a pool. The chances of your kid suffering in the pool is much worse than suffering in the house which has a gun. Again, an example of availability heuristic. So I think the concept is pretty clear. I've racked your brains about it, that you tend to take decisions based on what's on top of your mind rather than what's a logical thing to reason, and that affects your buying decisions. So if you are a seller, if you want to sell your goods and services, then you have to understand the power of the availability heuristic. That's why the smartest company in the world, if they have the budgets and they spend a lot of money, they do it. If there are companies who don't spend a lot of money, but who use social media effectively, who use their websites effectively, who use email effectively, and manage to ensure that they keep on having a part of your brain captured, right? So what can you do? If you don't have a great budget, then you ought to take social media very, very seriously. I think plenty of people think of social media as a toy. I don't think that there's any great amount of thinking before they put a post out there. Plenty of posts on social media where most people are absolutely silly. They just copy pastes. They just don't make any sense. There are plenty of people who put photographs of theirs on social media where you can't even see their faces properly. They probably have one with their spouse, or they have one with their child, or it's not their photograph at all. It's their father's photograph, their mother's photograph. What's going on? It's your social media profile. What is the meaning of a profile page? So that's the extent to which social media is disregarded, not treated as a serious business tool. You have to be very, very serious, especially if you've understood the criticality of the availability heuristic. Your quantity as well as quality of stuff that goes on social media has to be directed towards your target market. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no social media. It's all business media. I just don't understand how anybody can have a meaningful social relationship with anybody online. I think social relations are best offline. And in fact, striving to have a social relationship or enhance a social relationship online is in fact making that social relationship worse, right? Because if a friend of yours has gone for a vacation and you want to know what he's done, and if you want to see his pictures, I think you would enjoy it much more if you had lunch with him or dinner with him, and he shows you and talks about his trip. He shows you pictures and talks about his trip, and then you go back and forth and you keep your mobiles off, and then you're totally focused on being social with each other rather than seeing 10 photographs of his in a photo album on Facebook. I think it's just silly. I think there's just no proper thinking going on before people are putting out social media posts. So you've got to take not just LinkedIn, but also Facebook, Instagram. You've got to think of every social media as a business media. And you've got to use social media, use your website, and use email. These three tools are very, very cost effective. They're as good as free compared to what you would spend in terms of a search engine optimization or Google ads. So we have a budget and you've got a great strategy, then you can do search engine optimization, you can do Google ads, you can get a PR agency and get some great PR deals out there, there are plenty of juicy PR deals out there which are just not available, say maybe 5 or 10 years ago. There's some excellent packages available. You can do that if you have a big budget, but you don't need a big budget. You can do a lot of work if you understand this concept of availability heuristic on emailing, social media, and on your website. So I really can't think of anything more I want to say about this. So let's take some questions, but I think
Sure.
maximum 2 questions, and then if you have time, we can go on to the second strategy.
Sure. So can we have the questions in the chat box, please, everyone? Thank you. And thank you for making us think after a long time, in a very unique way. Mr. Dharmendra, thank you, really. I think even after the session, there was going to be a little brainstorming and everything that you said. And all our beautiful members and our guests can watch this because this will be on our website as well. So please raise your questions here in the chat box if you have any. And, I'm going to ask you because you did mention this, that you prefer, not the online, but the offline interaction with people. But in the digital age, I think everything is online, even relationships, personal relationships, people are so vocal about it online, and you are in the news. So I think, what is your say on this, Mr. Dharmendra? It really works so brilliant.
Well, I think the best use of social media is for a business tool. And if you're going to use the same tool, if you're going to use the same outlet for both socializing and doing business as well, then you're just going to mess it up, because your prospective clients want to know what you can do, what your strengths are. So if I'm a trainer, what you'll see on my social media is me doing trainings. You'll see lots of pictures of me doing trainings, being in a hall, talking to plenty of people, or putting up I will be sharing this video with over 20,000 email contacts of mine, or the picture will be about my books, or it'll be about blogs. I've written more than 300 blogs. So people always will get the picture that this guy is either talking about invisible selling or mind mapping or some other subjects which he knows a lot about. So maybe he can be a good resource to us. That message has to keep going out consistently again and again and again. I can't say I'm bored, let me do something else. Let me wear a yellow dress and go in the dance. Well, that may be very exciting to me, but that's not the way you talk to a business audience. So it may be boring. Variety is the spice of life, but monotony pays the bills. So the more relevant exposure you have on social media, the greater your increasing chances of availability heuristic being there. When a person thinks of, when a Fortune 500 company thinks of a training, the chances are very high that if they think of 1 or 2 trainers, that I'm one of the trainers they think of. That's why I've done sessions for almost all the Fortune 500 companies in the world. So it's the strategy. That's just an anecdotal thing. The research has shown that the strategy works, but I have used it very, very seriously, and it's done wonders for me as well. So since that was a question, let me just take one.
We have actually lots of questions, Mr. Dharmendra, but since we have time constraint and we're going to plan for yet another session, I'm going to please request you that how can we avail of your books? And that's what we mentioned to everyone, that you can read them for free. So since we have a lot of questions on mind mapping and the likes on invisible selling, I think once they avail of your books for free, that too at this point of time, that's the best thing to do. So please help us with that so that we could get all the answers and much more. And before we end this very, very brilliant mind mapping session.
Okay. So how much more time do you have just now?
So we have 4 minutes.
Oh, I see. Okay, fine. Okay, so then that will not be enough for another strategy. So let me just give you two ways in which you can get across to me or my books. If you have further queries, all you have to do is go to Google and type Dharmendra Rai. Okay, the first or second search result will be my website, and you can send me a message through my website. I'll do my best to respond to every query that I have. Okay, so you just go to Google Dharmendra Rai. That's it. So that's one contact point. And the second is you can read all the 3 books that I have. Let me not tell you the names of the remaining 2 books right now. One of the main book relevant to this subject is The Invisible Selling Book. This is available on Amazon. It is ranked by Amazon as among the top 100 best-selling books in its category in the history of Amazon. So it's really sold very well worldwide. And you can read all 3 books for free. It's available on Kindle Unlimited. If you just type in Dharmendra Rai Amazon in the search bar on Google. So that's it. You want to send a message to me, it's just Dharmendra on Google. If you want to read all my books for free on Amazon Kindle Unlimited, you just have to go to Google and say Dharmendra Rai Amazon. That's it. And thank you very much to Simran, to Vikash, to Priya, to Sujata, to Girish, to the entire team of IBG.
Thank you so much. And as I already mentioned to everyone, your life is going to change. Let's hear it from our business guru, Mr. Vikash Mittersain, the founder of India Business Group Chamber of Commerce. For your closing remarks, dear sir.
I'm completely flummoxed. You call me business guru. I think I need to add a square to that after this talk. I'm completely amazed. I don't want to speak too much about it. People have heard him. And this is, I think, the best webinar of a person we've had till now.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I'm sure that people are going to walk away or move away absolutely flummoxed and happy about this. And we are going to circulate this to more than 25,000 people with your permission.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'll also be sending it to my social media network as well as my email.
Yes, sure. Please do that. Over to you, Simran.
Wow. And so as we've already mentioned that we're going to have yet another session, so that we could continue our part 2 series of mind mapping, because he said it's very risky, if you've not really understood well, and I haven't understood well. So I don't know, I'm not going to ask you, Mr. Vikash, but how many answers you got correct? If you
No,
I won't mention it.
Okay, but I'm very happy. I'm very happy because every time I get a 0, I'm on a different kind of high, because I know how silly am I and how much I need to progress, So thank you so much to each and every one of you. Miss Priya, our very, very dynamic CEO. Thank you for this one of its kind webinar, and thank you for this lovely gift on behalf of Dharmendra Rai ji. Now your name is utmost famous, Dharmendra. So we have the Bollywood guru, and my dear lovely friends, here we have the invisible advertising guru, Mr. Dharmendra. So of course, naam bahut hi famous hai, Dharmendra bhi aur Rai bhi. So with a loud smile, so that of course, your videos are off, and an applause, we're going to truly thank you, as Mr. Vikash has mentioned, the best session ever. So thank you very much to all our lovely members. We look forward to meeting you all. A humble thanks to Mr. Dharmendra Rai. Take care and have a great week ahead.
Bye. See you all. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.